is from the 33rd team, former NFL scouts as well as front office types. Every NFL division's most damaged unit. For the AFC North, Bengals secondary. Granted, there is an elite quarterback within the division if Lamar Jackson doesn't return to Baltimore or gets injured again, and Cleveland's Deshaun Watson remains rusty. But the Bengals made things easier for an opponent with no Bates and no Bell on hand. And that's a very interesting point because you had Hendrickson and that line that had really good years for the Bengals, but now there's a big old hole in that secondary.
Yeah, I would say there is, but I mean, you've got to think in mind what Cincinnati's looking at here. You know, we have to re-sign Higgins, we have to re-sign Jamar Chase, I have to re-sign Joe Burrow. I'm going to lose some guys along the way. I drafted a safety last year with my first-round pick in Dax Hill. Obviously, this was going to be his time in one of those safety spots anyway. Von Bell was one of those guys coming out of Ohio State that I liked. Not very many people did, and that judged by his draft position. He had a nice career in New Orleans. He had a nice career in Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati was maybe a little bit late to the party getting into the safety market because the safeties ended up going for less money than I think we thought they were going to. So maybe Cincinnati was just either late getting to the party. The reviews that came in where, the NFL Players Association reviewing certain teams and certain things they do, that certainly did not help for the Bengals in that route. But the Bengals knew they were going to lose some players. That nobody, there was very few teams that were going to give Jesse Bates $23 million for the first, for the 2023 season. That's exactly why Atlanta did it, because they knew a lot of other teams wouldn't commit to it. They did end up with a nice athletic player in Nick Scott, former Los Angeles Ram. You got to make some concessions. And look, the Bengals defense the last 2 years was not that great in the beginning of the season. They found a way to kind of mold them all together, and sustained long winning streaks for the regular season, nice playoff runs. So the ability to still do that is there, no question. But, for the Bengals, yeah, I mean, nobody wants to lose both safeties in one off season. But, when if it comes down to, I get to keep one of these safeties, but I can't have the Burrow, Chase, and Higgins threesome, nobody's blind here. That's where all the money in Cincinnati's going to.
Yeah, as it should, and again, Joe Burrow and those wide receivers are the reason you've played in a couple of Super Bowls or a Super Bowl and a couple division championship games without question.